Five, what you, Sam?
Shotspotter, 18 rounds, 2057 North Neva. Should be in the rear in the corner of Neva and Dickens. Additional 3 rounds at 2057 North Neva.
Same corner. Unison 25 and Citywide getting a multiple Shotspotter hit of a total of 21 rounds at 2057 North Neva. Set the rear corner of Neva and Dickens. That's 21 rounds, 2057 North Neva on the Shotspotter in 25. Zone 12 is clear.
Oh, 11 up to Sam. 15 rounds, 4700 West Monroe. The state where they're coming from?
Yeah, it's going to be coming from the sidewalk on the northwest corner.
Okay. I'm going to miss Shotspotter. Unit 11 Citywide, Shotspotter detecting 15 rounds coming from the sidewalk, northwest corner of 4700 West Monroe. 11 District, don't take it.
If you get a call of shots fired somewhere and you respond there, the first thing you're looking for is there an offender in place, right? Is there an offender that's you're looking for, for safety first, right? See if we anything. Then if we don't find, then we're also looking for victims. Is anybody shot? Is anybody hurt? Everything, And then if we don't find either one of those, then we're looking for, are there any shell casings? Is there, we're trying to find out where exactly. So, the first thing is look for an offender, look for any victims, and then once we feel it's safe enough and everything, then we're going to be looking for, to see if we can figure out where it came from. Where are there any shell casings on the ground anywhere out there for the crime scene?
2611, units in 26 and on Citywide, we're getting a call of shots fired at Campbell in Ohio. 4 to 6 shots heard, no further information. District 26, Zone 1 clear. 2611 for information. Yeah, 2611. We're now getting several calls on this shot fired. We're getting Huron and Rockwell, Huron on Campbell, and Campbell on Superior. 4 to 6 shots, no further information.
Okay, yeah, just pull up right here. Okay. All right, so this is where the initial call came out, so we're going to look and see if we can find the crime scene. All right, so we're looking to see if we can find any shell casings, any evidence that there was actually shots fired over here. So we're just looking to see if we can find any evidence that there is actually shots fired. And you never know, somebody might turn up at a hospital. Maybe they got shot, but they only got wounded, and they took off, and they're driving themselves to the hospital or getting a ride to the hospital.
Okay.
So we still want to see if we can find something.
Was the shot called on the sidewalk or the street?
They didn't say. Just in the vicinity of Campbell in Ohio.
Fuck. This is hard. 4 shots. I'm looking for 4 shell casings.
Just looking for any shell casings.
Any shell casings.
And this just goes to show, just with the lack of technology, we're literally just using the officer's skills, and it could be a new officer that just came on that has no experience doing this, or somebody who's more experienced. But still, when somebody's out here and they're shooting, you don't know where they were standing.
Right.
So were they standing in the grass, and are the casings in the grass? Did they roll out onto the street? You're looking everywhere, and then obviously trying not to kick them around and bury them in the grass even further when you're doing it. Okay, so remember we got There was several calls, right? The initial one was right here, but then there were other calls. So now we're going to go check those other locations and see, because remember when the call came in, somebody could have been here where they made the call from, but the shots could have come from down the street, right?
In the playground.
It could have been anywhere. Right. So the other location, additional calls came in down the street. So we're going to drive over there and see if maybe the casings are over there. Now, when we get additional calls, it kind of helps us, right? So the first call came in over here, but then there were additional calls down the street. So which one was closer?
Right.
Don't know.
How many officers does it normally take to search for this?
That's the other thing,
Like,
right? So it's going to depend on manpower. So if we're low on manpower, or let's say we have somebody else shot at another location, and there's officers actually responding to that and dealing with that, plus you've got your domestics, you've got your shoplifters, you've got everything else that's just going on, normal police work in the district, it might just be you and I, and that's it. So.
That'll take forever. Like if it's literally this whole, it could take us all day.
So that's what we do.
Unreal.
Okay.
This is stupid. Yeah. You have to have the technology.
So, but I mean, think about it. Up until now, this is always the way it's been, right? You just get the call, you get out there, first you look to see if there's any offenders in the area, then you're looking for your victims, and then if you don't find anything, then it's look to see if there's any casings around in case there is a victim out there going to the hospital. And this is the way we do it. And maybe you might have some manpower to help you out, look for some more. And remember, as far as the casings go, if somebody does turn up at the hospital, we're going to send more officers back to the area to give it another look and to see if we can find something. This might have happened in the middle of the night. Might be dark out and you got your flashlights going, right? It could be snowing, or it could start snowing after we're done and covered up with the snow. So there's a lot of variables out there.
Wow. Yeah, it's just very time consuming.
2602 Sam.
2602 Sam.
2602 Sam. Yeah, we're getting a shot spotter alert. 2500 West Huron, 4 rounds detected. Looks like it's going to be on the sidewalk.
Unison 26 and on Citywide, 2602 Sam is getting a shot spotter detection at 2500 West Huron. 4 rounds detected on the sidewalk. 2611, can you do me a favor and write on this shot spotter?
And they gave us specifics. They said 2500 west. See, we're at 2415. So we're going west.
Okay. Let's speed a little bit.
Remember, odds on that side, even on this side. So 2500.
Okay.
Is going to be right at the corner there. So see where it says speed bump ahead?
Yep.
Okay, remember, so we're approaching the area, so we're looking. Do we have any victims? Do we have any offenders?
No victims, no offenders.
Okay, so pull up right over here. So see, this is 2500. We're at 2500 West Huron, and they said that came from the sidewalk. Oop.
Sidewalk.
All right, so they said 4 shots.
4 shots.
Right, somewhere. So take a
Sidewalk
look
here?
around. Yeah, take a look around specifically. You're going to confine your search to this area only. Looking at the sidewalk. No, you don't have to pick it up, just so you identify where it is. Everything,
Okay.
but that's 1. So we heard 4 shots, right?
2.
2.
There's only 2.
That's it. There's only 2 casings. Okay,
2.
so yeah.
1, 2.
1, 2. So you found them. Now,
Just like that.
Compare that to how fast did you find these compared to when we didn't have Shotspotter?
Exactly. Super fast. And it's like, that makes a difference.
Right.
The
So
amount of time you're going to spend.
right. So the last time we got the call, it was over at Ohio and Campbell was the first call, right?
Mhm.
And then we had backup calls over at Huron and Campbell, right? So we went to the Ohio and Campbell location first. We got out, we walked around, we canvassed the area, we looked, we didn't find anything. We probably spent about 5 minutes over there, right? Then we got in the car and we drove around and we came back over to this location. We looked around again, and ultimately we didn't find the casings. They were buried in the grass, and we just didn't see where they were. Right. Now this call, Shotspotter, call came out, and usually with Shotspotter, you're going to get that call. They actually have their own parameters where they're going to get that call out to you within 60 seconds. Within 60 seconds, they're going to identify, is it fireworks or is it real? and then if they determine that it's going to be real, they're going to get that call out to us right away. Their average is 25 seconds. So that's how fast it's coming out. So the chances of somebody being here compared to where we were would have been pretty high.
Right.
But we get the call, we pop right over here, and within less than a minute of being out of the car, you were able to find where these casings are. So what a difference,
and
right?
That technology is going to allow you to be able to do your job more efficiently.
And that's the key word, is efficiently, right?
Yeah.
We're already low on manpower as it is, so to be able to utilize our manpower in more of an efficient manner and utilize technology, to me it only makes sense. You had asked a question about who would be against this.
Right.
Right? Why would anybody against it?
Yeah.
90% of the time when somebody's coming out to blame technology for being the cause of some type of incident, it's usually political, right? Because they're looking for a scapegoat, they're looking for something to pin it on to the cause of it. So the Adam Toledo and Officer Stillman situation was a call came out from Shotspotter similar to this, and I think it was 7 or 8 shots were fired. And what you had was an adult male with a 14-year-old that saw a car go by, and he decided he was going to fire several rounds at the vehicle. He did that, and that triggered the Shotspotter. Well, Officer Stillman was nearby, so he responded to the scene, and they were still on scene right there. Remember, we're getting those calls Shotspotter calls within 25 seconds usually. Right. So they were fast. They were right there. They responded. When the officers are approaching, all they see are 2 subjects. They don't know their ages. They don't know. I mean, you're going to get height and you're going to get some general description, but that's it. Well, they immediately take off. Stillman keeps on running after the other individual. That subject clearly has a gun in his right hand. Gets to where there's an opening in the fence area. The offender then turns with the gun, and Officer Stillman had 0.8 of a second to make a decision on what to do. And as he turned, the offender turned and was bringing his right hand up. You can see the gun over here like this. He's bringing his right hand up, and within that split second, Officer Stillman fired 1 shot, hit him right in the chest. So the offender goes down. Officer Stillman immediately rendered aid, started doing CPR, working on trying to save this kid's life. Other officers came up to take over. He got up and walked around, and you can hear the emotion. When we shoot somebody, it's not officers running around high-fiving each other and everything. It's a serious thing. He walks around with his flashlight, and he sees the gun was right there. So as the kid turned, in one motion, he pitched the gun right behind the fence, and you couldn't see it from the angle that Officer Stillman was at. And so as he's coming up, he just knows there was a gun in the hand, and then he sees that hand come up, and it's too late already when he has to make that decision.
For me, as an African-American person, I watch the news, and I go based off what the news, and my emotions are riled up, because I'm like, okay, well, here's another situation of someone who looks like me getting killed by police. And then when I talk to a police officer and get their perspective and understand it from a human level, you're like, okay, well, I don't know who this kid is. I don't know who this person is. We're yelling, we're running, we're chasing him, we're all exhausted. We're telling
you don't even know he's a kid.
Don't even know he's a kid. We're telling you to stop. You're not stopping. We see a gun in your hand. You're still running. You're clearly a visible threat. And when you describe that specific scenario, in that split-second decision, I think any reasonable person would be like, well, it's either me or this person. You don't have that. You don't have that space to be able to make that decision. I think he's a kid. Let me give him a chance. Even if he does draw the gun at you, what are you supposed to do? Just freeze? Hey, don't shoot me.
And what are you going to have in the headlines the next day or that night? You're going to have unarmed 14-year-old shot and killed by police.
Right.
So that's what's going to come out. That's what goes out everywhere.
Yeah. And
then why was he chasing him? Why was this police officer chasing this 14-year-old? Again, not taking into consideration that you don't know the age at that time. An armed person. He was chasing an armed individual. So what do? They trail it back to, if Shotspotter wouldn't have gone off and sent those officers there with this, they're going to be all amped up because they're going to a shots fired call, not realizing that, let's say there wasn't Shotspotter, they were close enough, and maybe a 911 call would have come up, and they would have responded the same way, and the exact same scenario would have happened.
Right.
It's not the technology that caused the incident, it's the subject running with a gun in his hand.
Right, and at the end of the day, when you look at the situation between not having Shotspotter and having Shotspotter, those people are armed and dangerous. They just committed a crime, right? So, not having Shotspotter, that does not allow a cop to be able to do their job efficiently. Those people can get away very easily. You can't find the evidence, and that leaves the city open and vulnerable for those people to perpetuate and continue those crimes.
That fired at a car that was going by.
Yeah.
He missed.
Right.
All right. Just because he missed, now if he walks away free, you know, he's willing to shoot at people in a car, he's going to do it again, and eventually
Exactly.
he's going to shoot and kill somebody.
Exactly.
Or injure them. We don't know.
Exactly. Yeah, having Shotspotter I think is super crucial because being able to respond super quickly, get to the offenders, and potentially find the evidence, any potential victims, is just going to make the entire community safer.
Yeah, any technology that's going to help officers work more efficiently and safely, I think is going to be is a win-win for everybody.
And I think also, like, I encourage the community to, like, have that dialogue as well instead of just, like, picking one side and just listening to the media. Because growing up, like, just watching the news, like, I was just traumatized. I just thought, like, black people are getting targeted. But then, like, I started hearing some of the situations that I'm hearing, like, a lot of these criminals, like, they're using kids because they know the kids will be able to get away with it. And it's like, once you understand that perspective, you put yourself in the police officer's shoes and you experience what they're going through. It's like a night and day difference between perspectives.
And what you said about the kids. So I came on in 1991. Back then, the only thing, the kids were used for two things. One, burglaries, because they were small, they could fit them through windows.
And they're still smart.
And, and the other was for standing on the corner and yelling 5-0 for drug dealers, to warn them. That's what they would use the kids for back then. Now, because they become so much more emboldened, they're using kids for carjackings, they're using kids for catalytic converter thefts, they're using kids for anything and everything. They always give them the drugs or the guns to hold. And like I said, the kids are getting smarter and they're getting more aggressive and they're becoming more emboldened because they get away with it. There's no accountability.
Them getting away with it, I think it's almost like you're training a seasoned criminal to be more efficient at being a criminal, right? Like, yes, they're kids, but at the same time, like,
we're creating we're creating an
gross.
army of predators out there.
Yeah,
They really are. They're becoming predators because it's a game to them.
I think the community, like, a lot of times are thinking, like, okay, well, like, when you think of criminal, like, you're thinking of an adult. Like, these kids are smart, they know what they're doing, and they know they're getting away with it.
Right.
I just don't think it's acceptable.
Where it starts is that first round of that first media blitz, right? They never seem to, because it's the rush to get the story out. So that's when that headline comes up, you know, unarmed 14-year-old shot by police. They want that because that's going to get their clicks, that's going to get their views, right? That's what they're looking for. But I don't, whether they realize it or not, the negative impact that they're creating and the harm that they're doing is tenfold.
I was speaking to an officer the other day, and we were kind of like running through a scenario that involved like a 14-year-old kid, 13-year-old kid, like they're kids, right? And the way he described the situation, and like after like when he was questioning that kid, like it was almost as though like this kid, it was like a script. Like he understood like what the scenario was, what the outcome would have been. So like his performance was almost as though like it was an act. Like he just knew. He's like, well, they're gonna catch me. Oh well, like I've done this a million times before. I'm gonna get away with it. And it's like it's a cycle that just continues and continues. And like you let those kids off on the street, they're going to become even more hardened with it. Yeah, I think knowing what I know now after like speaking to like other police officers and getting their perspective, I think like the city should give them more autonomy to be able to do their job more efficiently. Like there's certain scenarios where like use of force is like, it's important. Like you have to be able to do that. And like you don't give them that discretion to be able to make that decision. Like you're allowing more criminals to roam the street. You're allowing more crime to like continue.
Right.
The city's
well, and that's the
more
thing, you know, now that we have video with officers wearing the body-worn cameras all the time, you get a front row seat to policing, and it's not always going to be pretty. It's just not. You know, when you're the idea that, you know, well, why couldn't they just wound them, or why couldn't they just shoot the gun out of their hand and stuff? That's Hollywood. That doesn't work that way. You know, when you're trying to get somebody, an armed offender, under control, if they have a knife or whatever it is that's going on, and if you're already up close and personal with them, you're going to have to use force to get them under control. Absolutely. And that's not going to look good on camera. It's never going to look good on camera.
I think having the technology like to be able to like do their job more efficiently is important. It's going to make the entire city safer. It's just good for the community moving forward. So yeah, we got to have it.